And let me say first, I don't agree with everything in this book as far as, I mean, there's, some, language and things that that's not really needed. But it's him telling this story. But, you can skip over some parts or whatever. But you really can get a good sense of how it feels from this book so far. I was sitting in Barnes and Noble, and I wasn't going to buy this. I was going to wait and order it from like Amazon. But I sat down and I started reading it, and I'll read you the part, and I started tearing up, and I knew I had to get out of there, but I knew I wanted to buy this book. So, I mean, it's not from a Christian's perspective or anything like that. He's Jewish, but it helped me to know that there's somebody else, which I know there are a lot of people, but it does help. And from what I've read, see, I've read that much. And like I said, I don't agree with everything. So if you read this book, there's certain parts that I could do without, and you can just skip over it. But to really get the gist of this, you can with this book as well. Let me just read you the part that just hit home with me. He talks about being on the Howard Stern show, and that's when everything came out. On basically on accident. About his obsessive compulsive disorder, and he also has adult ADD as well, and when he had it when he was a child. But this is the part. Okay, he walks out of the studio and he's just so upset. He just feels dark. He's got his head down, and he just feels awful because the whole world, just heard, and he was just not downplaying, just saying, oh, well, my kids are already being ridiculed. My wife is holed up in the house, and it's breaking news everywhere. And here's what happened. Let me check. Anyway, let me read you this part. I heard a voice. I kept looking down at the sidewalk. I saw a pair of feet in my periphery. A man's voice said, "You're Howie Mandel." And I'm not going to read this all word for word. Without looking up, I revealed shamefully, "Yep," because he said his heart sank when, he asked him that. "I just heard you on Howard," he said excitedly. "You did? Are you really a germaphobe?" This random guy on the streets of New York was about to begin the public ridiculing that I had brought upon myself. "Yes," I mumbled. "And you've got OCD," he continued. And now I was descending closer to hell than I ever imagined. Running into traffic to get away from this guy was starting to look like the only option. "Yes, I do," I confided. There was a long pause, and then came the two most dramatic words that I'd ever heard. They were the words that changed my life and probably are the reason I'm writing this book. He said, "Me too." And see, I did it again. Reading those words, even though there's lots of people who have this disorder or, partially have it, whatever, it feels so, I'm not happy they have it, but it feels so good to know that I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that does these things and feels these things and, has to do this or whatever. I'm not the only one. And even though I'm not a germaphobe like that, I have things that I do as compulsion. It's mostly, mental things. And it was so good. And I'm sitting at Barnes & Noble like, oh gosh, I gotta go. So I went ahead and bought the book. And I would suggest that if you want to know more about this, I would suggest getting the other book, Avoiding the Trap, and also this one, just to help out. And I'm sure there's lots of other ones. Okay, enough crying. Okay. Let me just start, I guess, from the beginning. I remember the first time being, and let me tell you this real quick. In the book, I can tell that he's like choosing his words too. Like, he'll say, "I don't remember exactly. I'm not sure if it's exactly how it happened." It's the same thing that I do. And I may not appear to do it, but I'm always going, okay, if I say it's nice to meet you to somebody, is it really nice to meet them? Anyway, so that was eye-opening. Okay, I remember when I was 9 years old, and this is just my recollection of it. I remember all this started out as part of like religious things. It came out in that. And this disorder or the tendencies of it can come out in so many different areas. And it's mostly, I guess, important areas, or it could be little things too, I guess. I remember I was in Bible school, and it was the summertime, and I had went down to accept Christ. I remember my friend's sister; she prayed, with me and all that. And then we had gone to, I guess, months later, or maybe that same summer, we'd gone to a girls' camp, and what was like a GA camp or whatever. And I remember them talking about, doing the invitation and stuff like that. And I remember thinking then, oh, maybe I didn't say it right, or I might have to do it again. And that started just a cycle of that. And so that was one big thing that it was for a long time. And it wasn't just your typical doubting. It was sometimes so bad that I would cry. And this was like in high school or right after high school. And this isn't, an everyday thing. And especially now, it doesn't come out in that way as much. But I would cry, and just like I was begging God, and I would talk to everybody I could, trying to get the right answer, trying to get the peace, but the anxiety was there, and it just plagued me so much. And I couldn't wrap my mind around how simple it is to accept Christ. I kept wanting to do something, say something else, be something, be in just the right place or whatever. But so it started out as that. And then, as my weight was, going up, it started being about my health. And it could overlap, trust me, but it was about my health. And, when I was having those issues about, salvation and things like that, it got so bad at one time because I didn't know what was wrong. I just thought that I was not saved, and that was it. And that was what was wrong. And there was like nothing I could do to make myself feel better. I'd feel better for just a minute, but then it would come back. Well, I got so depressed because the anxiety gets so high, it's so exhausting and overwhelming, then you can go the other way. And so I started feeling depressed. And I had thought about suicide. I never would have done that, but I just wanted to feel better. I wanted to feel better, and that was the problem. But finding out that there is a problem has been such a big help to me, because now I know it's not just me. I'm not just this person, even though sometimes I think I am, but I'm not. This is just, it's an invasion of me. It's a disorder. It's not me. It's not who I am. I don't own it. So anyway, but about my health, it started coming out about my health, I would say maybe right after high school, something like that. And I would, if somebody would say, so-and-so died of an aneurysm, I'd start thinking, oh no, maybe I have one. Or if somebody had cancer, the Michael J. Fox thing, him having the Parkinson's disease. Or if somebody had ALS, well, anyway, I started thinking, oh, my hand's shaking. And I feel like it was going numb. And this is going to sound really crazy to you, but this is the way I felt at the time, and this was what was happening at the time. I would pinch myself to make sure my hand wasn't going numb. I wasn't like trying to mutilate myself or hurt myself, but I would pinch myself to make sure my hand wasn't going numb. And I was at the doctor all the time. I would go to the emergency room. I even typed out one time a list of symptoms to my family doctor. And I'm sure he thought, this girl is crazy. But to me, that seemed normal. And normal is a word, I don't even know what that is, but that wasn't normal. So it's come out in that. Also with animals, I really love animals. It can come out in that way. All right, I'm going to check the time. Okay, I got a little bit. If I see something happen to an animal, or like the whole Michael Vick thing, it tore me up. I just busted out into tears because I didn't know they were going to show that on the news, and they did, which I don't think they should have done that for people like me and children